Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones, and welcome to the 2022 Straime Awards, the award show that's like the Game Awards, but with me in it. So, we were actually supposed to have a big musical introduction this year, but I blew the entire budget on this tuxedo t-shirt and the old Spaghetti Factory gift cards. So, let's just get the show started, shall we? In case you missed last year's award ceremony, that's fine, because I'm still fiddling with the rules and I'm changing the formula this year anyway. Essentially, consider this a top 10 games of 2022 list, but with a couple of extra bells and whistles. Every game on my list will win an award in a specific category with its own title, and these awards will change from year to year. For example, Echoes of Mana could win the Gimme Your Lunch Money award for game I spent way too much money on throughout 2022. Also, if I'm feeling especially generous, certain awards may have a runner-up in the same category that I think deserves an honorable mention. The rules for what games are or are not eligible are the same as always. Rule number 1, the game has to have had an official release, either digital or physical, throughout 2022. For example, even though River City Girls 2 launched digitally on December 15th of last year, I ordered the physical copy, which won't be out until sometime this year, which is when I'll be getting and playing it. Which brings me to rule number 2. That release needs to be either my first time playing the title, or it needs to offer enough new content for me to consider it a new experience. For example, Persona 5 Royal is not making this list because I already played it and it was already on my list back in 2020. And rule number 3, no matter how much I may have enjoyed them, no early access games or demos. I think that one is kind of self-explanatory. Throughout the video, I'll also have side awards for other notable things in the world of gaming. But for now, let's get on to our first award of the night. Starting things off, we have the Hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast Award for game that should have been way better than it is. And I can think of no other game that deserves this award more than Saints Row. The game has some truly terrible dialogue, wonky physics, and a plethora of other problems, some of which have thankfully been fixed through patches, but Lord help me, I did still have enough fun to keep it on the list, even if it's not any higher than this. I did enjoy the city, it was nice getting back to the formula of taking down 3 rival gangs, and one of the side activities basically involves leaving such negative Yelp reviews that people try to kill you. Our next award is the Doesn't Matter Got Smooches Award for Best Romantic Horror. Oh, you think that's too specific a category? You think there wasn't a ton of competition? I'll have you know 2022 gave us My Lovely Wife, where you get to date various succubi and feel like a terrible person, and also Dead by Daylight got a dating sim. But my personal winner here is none other than the world-ending Lovecraftian smooch seeker, Sucker for Love. I'm normally a sucker for dating games, and I absolutely love the absurdity of this one. Trying to get smooches from 3 hot versions of classic Lovecraftian horrors while performing ancient rituals from a book made this a memorable title for me. There's already a sequel confirmed with new girls and new rituals that should be out sometime this year, so who knows? We might be seeing this franchise again in next year's awards. I'm a pretty big fan of the point-and-click adventure genre, and it's fun solving puzzles in a way that actually makes me feel clever. One of my personal favorite things about this genre is that they typically have a nice balance of characters and dialogue, and I really love it when one of these titles can make me laugh. So that's why our next award is the Point and Laugh Award for Best Comedic Adventure Game. And the winner goes to the long-awaited, surprisingly well-thought-out, and engaging Return to Monkey Island. Guybrush Threepwood is on a new adventure to actually uncover the secret of Monkey Island, and I just had a great time throughout this one. The art style, music, voice acting, and characters were just phenomenal. Honorable mention in this category goes to Frog Detective 3 Corruption at Cowboy County, which rounded out what is, unironically, one of the most consistently strong trilogies in all of gaming. Before we get to our next game, this seems like a great opportunity for our first side award of the evening, the Best Waifu of 2022 award. And the nominees are Professor Sada from Pokemon Scarlet version, Elsie from Rune Factory 5, Nyanletotep from Sucker for Love, Anne from Anno Mutation M, Viola from Bayonetta 3, Barry from Slime Girl Smoothies, Roxanne from Potionomics, and I am personally gonna go with Ash from Soul Hackers 2, but come on, you could really input almost any woman from Soul Hackers 2 into this spot. Like, Soul Hackers 2 was just a game with basically no bad waifus. And just like every year, the winner is Auntie Nyan Nyan. Of course.
Always and forever. Only Auntie Nyan Nyan.
Our next award is what I can only describe as the Deutsches Märchen Award for surprisingly dark kid story with Digimon Survive. I thought I knew what to expect going into this game. It's a visual novel about children stuck in the Digimon world with a light focus on fun, albeit simplistic, strategy RPG combat. But what I got was a far more in-depth tale of friendship, humanity, and knowing that my actions and decisions could result in these young characters' deaths was unexpected. Though, you know what? That's my fault. The game is called Survive, not 8 young kids go to camp for the summer. Alright, I'm gonna cheat a little bit on this one. I love me some farm-based life sim action, especially when they can pepper that in with cool fantasy elements and RPG mechanics. So, hey, the Dragon Ate My Turnips Awards for Best Fantasy Farm Story goes to both Rune Factory 5 and Harvestella. Harvestella had solid characters, nice presentation, the farming mechanics felt genuinely good to use, and the food in this game is gorgeous. Overall, it was a nice new IP into the genre, and I do hope we'll see more of it in the future. Rune Factory 5 has great music, a decent story, pretty good mechanics, tiny vegetable monsters who work on my farm, and it's always nice to meet another member of the de Saint Coquille family. Here's me with my girlfriend, and a wild animal that I tamed to help harvest crops. I forget which one is which. Oh yeah, and also the Doraemon Story of Season sequel is pretty okay. It leaned a bit more into the fantasy setting, but I didn't have enough turnips for 3 dragons. And right smack dab in the middle, we have the Starting with Pixie Award for obligatory Megami Tensei game. So, here we go, Soul Hackers 2. On the surface, I think there is a lot to like about this game. There's great music, a pretty pleasing aesthetic style, and some solid characters, including Ringo, whom I think many of us can agree is one of the best Megaten protagonists out there. However, the game felt rushed in places, it felt lacking in worthwhile side content, and when it came out, there were a lot of fan complaints, many of which have thankfully been addressed with patches. Soul Hackers 2 is far from an awful game, which is why I have it here in the middle. I did still enjoy it, but if this were one of the PS2 Megaten games, it's a lot more on the Digital Devil Saga 2 side of things rather than Persona 3 FES, if you know what I mean. Our next side award of the evening is the I Can't Believe That Actually Happened award, where I acknowledge some gaming news that made me double-check the calendar to ensure that it wasn't some sort of elaborate April Fool's Day prank. And the nominees are Goku using a gun in Fortnite, Silent Hill 2 Remake by Blooper Team, Space Venture actually releasing, and an officially licensed Persona 5 slot machine called Persona 5 for Reals. And the winner is Space Venture actually releasing. Since my very first Top 10 Games video, I have always tried to highlight my excitement for Space Venture, and I can't believe that it has technically been released as of 2022. Now, if you're wondering why it wasn't my winner in the Best Comedic Adventure category, that doesn't mean it was bad or anything. It's because the game was only released to Kickstarter backers, and it probably won't have an official release until sometime in 2023. So hey, maybe next year, Space Venture. Some things just go so well together that it seems obvious. Salt and pepper, gin and tonic, me and Kawakami, but sometimes it's the unexpected combinations that surprise us in the best possible way. And that is why I am awarding the Peanut Butter and Pickle Sandwich Award to Ultra Kaiju Monster Rancher. When this game was first announced, I was floored at the idea of a Monster Rancher game where you raise classic kaiju from the Ultraman franchise. But break out those Crayolas and color me tickled pink when I started playing, and discover that this was an actual crossover that acknowledges the lore of both series, including returning characters like Colt. I was so happy to see Colt again, you guys. As a kaiju fan and a Monster Rancher fan, this was a match made in heaven for me, and truly one of the biggest surprises of 2022. Because kaiju are big. Coming in at number 3 is another double feature, but one that should come as no surprise to anyone. It's the It's Super Effective Award for Best Pokemon Game. And honestly, starting this year off with Pokemon Legends Arceus and ending it with Pokemon Scarlet felt like a great way to frame this year with one of my most beloved franchises. Obvious bugs and performance issues aside, I had a blast with both of these titles, and I wasn't surprised to see them showing up on my most played Switch games of 2022 end of the year recap. Because I was hooked! What else is there for me to even say? It's Pokemon. Scarlet had a surprisingly good story with good characters. There were great new Pokemon. Toedscruel is awesome. Our next award of the night is the Kickstart My Heart Award for Best Crowdfunded Dating Sim. There were a few good ones this year, but come on, it's gotta go to Monster Prom 3 Monster Road Trip. This latest entry in the 3-time award-winning series focuses slightly less on the dating and more on a resource management / traveling mechanic reminiscent of stuff like the Oregon Trail. As you go from place to place, you see new and returning characters, bond with people, and laugh yourself stupid. I absolutely love the direction they took with this one, and I truly think it's one of the best the franchise has to offer in a series I already love to pieces. Before I get to my Game of the Year, I do have one final side award to give out, and that is the Strain42 Patreon Pick Award. Every year, I ask my loyal Patreon supporters what their games of the year were and use a point system to determine a winner. This year was close, but my patrons voted their game of the year as Digimon Survive. Truth be told, I'm very thankful that they did, because I didn't really play that much of Survive until you all voted on it, which gave me a good enough excuse to go play more of it for myself, which is honestly why it was able to earn an award earlier in this video. If you'd like to take part in future Patreon Pick Awards, consider joining my Patreon to see videos in advance, get monthly newsletters, and other behind-the-scenes goodies. But for now, on with the show. Every now and then, a game comes out that just changes your life. Plenty of times, my game of the year is something that I expected it to be. Like, no one was surprised that Persona 5 won for me in 2017. But a game from a brand new IP that I honestly didn't even think I was going to pick up initially, becoming not just my game of the year in 2022, but potentially one of my top 10 video games of all time, that's the kind of surprise I love. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, this should come as no surprise to you, because I just would not shut up about Triangle Strategy. I love Final Fantasy Tactics, and the setting and gameplay in this game really brought me back into that mindset, while giving us a gripping narrative of turmoil between different kingdoms, absolutely fantastic tactical combat, and an amazing cast that you get to know the more you use them through side stories.
Sorry, young ones. Archibald, no!
One of my favorite aspects of this game is how it handles choices. You don't just make a choice, you have to convince those closest to you to side with your beliefs. This was an amazing RPG that turned decision-making into a compelling mechanic, and I loved it so much. From the look, the sound, the gameplay of this title, it is, without a doubt, worthy of my all-time favorite game award of 2022. Triangle Strategy is still a really dumb name, though. Alright, and with that, albeit a little late, we have the 2022 Straime Awards. There were some great titles last year, and there are already some amazing looking games lined up for this year. So let me know what some of your favorite games were of 2022, and what games are you looking forward to this year. I've got my eyes on Like a Dragon Ishin, Clive and Wrench, and Eternites, just to name a few. Before I go, I just want to give a great big thank you to everyone who watched this video. 2023 is going to be a big year for the channel, as I'm really close to releasing my 100th main video, and still really hoping to hit 10,000 subscribers this year. So if you want to help out with that, please consider subscribing. It really does help the channel a lot, and I will see you all next time. Take care, and here's to a happy and wonderful new year for all of us.